Hello and welcome back. I'm Hannah Calhoun, VP of Innovation at the Financial Health Network. As many of you know well, HR teams are routinely tasked with critical initiatives that can transform the business. However, in many organizations, HR is forced to be largely reactive. Not so at Comcast, where they have built an innovation hub inside the HR team to proactively drive business outcomes. I'm thrilled to be joined today by Hoelper and Jill Personett from Comcast NBCUniversal, who are going to share how Comcast went about building this innovation hub, some tangible examples of the tools they use in their work, and their advice for peers who might want to undertake similar efforts. Stephen is the VP for Total Rewards Innovation and Products at Comcast. He's focused his career on conceptualizing and exploring go-to-market strategies for corporate startups with previous roles at Meta Solutions, Merck, and Vree Health. Jill is a senior director on the innovation and products team with more than 17 years of experience building benefits, wellness, and compensation design to help employees access the tools and resources they need to support their goals. Thank you both so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Stephen, I'm going to start with you. Why did Comcast decide to make innovation a part of its HR function?
It was born out of necessity because if you look at Comcast and NBCUniversal, the companies are very diverse in the businesses they're in and the type of employees that work for us. As an example, on the Comcast side, we've got technicians that go into people's homes. We have call center reps, and we also have sales people, and they're dispersed across the country. Our makeup looks largely like the demographics in the United States. If you look at NBC, you've got people that work at parks at Orlando or in LA. You have people that are, talent. You have people that do production support. So it was really born out of the necessity to be able to understand our employee population as best we can in order to provide solutions and products for them that they're actually going to use and that ultimately solve problems for them and their family. So really, it's the necessity of a diverse population and really understanding them as best we can to serve them and provide the most value that we could.
Great. Jill, central to the way this innovation team works is the process you use to identify employee gaps and needs. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that looks like?
Sure. So what we really do, Hannah, is we focus on the demographics of the business, leveraging techniques that are scalable and applicable for all business units. And the key word there is business units, because as Stephen mentioned, we have a very diverse workforce. And so we need to think about how do we best deliver what they need based on the ask in which they bring to the table. We include our work with creativity, ideation of each product that's brought to market to those departments, into those business units, while also being agile in our design methods. We test, we focus group, and we measure in order to make sure that we can effectively meet the needs of our clients.
I know you use personas in your work. Can you talk to us a little bit more about what a persona is and how you end up developing it?
Yeah, personas are critical in the work that we do, and we look at personas in a number of different ways. So we look at them in the medical space, the financial well-being space, wellness, and everything that's brought to the market from a total avenue and how we deliver benefits to those business units. So what we do is we spend time talking to HR, really understanding the demographics of what their needs are. Then from there, we work with our data warehousing team and our data science team, and we really pull the data to the specific ask in which we have. Based on that ask and based on what the aggregate data is sharing with us, we create anywhere from 5 to 7 different personas to deliver back to the business to really help them understand the makeup of their division or their unit in order to be able to educate, communicate, or develop products. So the way to think about it is you have 5,000 people in a business unit who are made up of a number of different characteristics across the country. So it could be their location. It could be the job in which they're doing. It could also be their demographic status of being enrolled in benefits or not when it comes to single, family, employee plus 1 or 2. And then from there, we try to help tell the story of that individual in order to be able to really help think about what's the best product and communication that we can deliver to enhance the engagement and also get the most productivity out of the individual so that they're the best self while at work.
And what does a test and learn look like for Comcast?
Test and learn is probably the most exciting thing about what Stephen and I work on, because it really allows us to get in there and be agile and iterate. We never forget to realize the goal while optimizing the knowledge that we can get from that and bring back. We always come with an unbiased mindset and are consistent in our measurements, feedback, and delivery. And so really, what's test and learn? We look to pilot in smaller markets to really gain feedback, to ask questions, so that we can continue to iterate the product in order to make it the best delivery for what our population needs. So it could be anything from how are we measuring the pilot to how do we change those measurements or key performance indicators to the next round of individuals that we're working at, getting the feedback from not only the executives within those business units, but also the HR people in the markets that we're servicing and the employees to really make sure that what we're bringing to the table meets the needs of what they want and what they need in order for us to be a more effective business and for those individuals to be more effective at work. But really, you look at test and learn as what any individual might look at from a lessons learned standpoint. So as you're iterating on any project or work that you do, you're always constantly taking that feedback to try to improve. And so that's why it's so critical for us as we have this innovation arm within our department to be agile, to come back with, like I mentioned, unbiased, objective feedback to continue to deliver what's asked upon us to make the best delivery for everyone.
Great. And are there specific lessons you've learned about how this innovation process really helps to drive meaningful outcomes for the workforce?
Yeah, I would say a couple of key things that we've learned is that data is key. There's always going to be a perception within the need or want just based on anecdotal escalations or voices that are brought to the table. But if you can really come back and show the data behind it, the metrics, as well as any sort of key learnings from individuals that are willing to come forward and share their testimonial, it really resonates best with the business and best with the delivery of what the product team delivers to the departments. Because from there, what it brings is concrete, actionable improvements with unbiasedness. And so data in anything that we do is the most important to also level set, to set appropriate expectations, and to show the impact that the product has brought to the team.
Great. Stephen, I'm going to turn it back to you. Help us understand what buy-in was necessary from C-suite leaders to move forward with this innovation function. How did you make the case?
Sure. So it started with a small number of people, but it's grown to, I think the team's about 22 now. And just to give the audience a preview into that, we have a product team, which Jill leads. We also have a data science team that looks hard at using machine learning and other tactics to identify opportunities, as well as folks that are focused on what policy changes are happening in the market, as well as people that can kind of do agile development and do the agile test process that Jill just talked about. So the buy-in is really what we did over time is showing value by being incremental in our process. And I think that's really key to anyone who wants to get into this type of mindset. It's about having a small group of people that are empowered to test something. And it could be as little as a project to automate something. It could be a concept that's written on a napkin or a low fidelity mock-up. But the key in getting the C-suite to engage in this is to make sure that the value is shown. And Jill went into detail about making sure that it's centered around the business impact that's actually being had. So if it's around the cable division, how are we helping them improve their workforce productivity? That's an important ask. Or it's on the news side, how are we helping them with their mental health needs that they have? So ultimately, we also have committee structures on the benefit side to make sure that people are, that the work gets the right visibility, and that is staffed with C-level folks that actually help us go through the process of approving where we're going to make investments and where we're going to scale different pilots. So that type of committee is key to making this sustainable in the enterprise.
Great. So I know you mentioned this notion of approaching the work incrementally. I'd be curious, and I'm sure other folks on the feed are curious as well, for an HR department that wants to make innovation part of its DNA, what are some initial steps they can take? And I'm thinking in particular about organizations that might be somewhat smaller than Comcast, NBC Universal, and so don't necessarily have the same level of resources to put towards the problem from day one.
Yeah, I think the main point is to give people the flexibility in their job to be able to think. We actually do what we call think days once a quarter where people can kind of focus on looking at new initiatives. And that's something anyone can do regardless of your team size, if you have an innovation function or not. But it's really allowing the room for people to have opportunities to look at new and exciting opportunities. And I think, quite frankly, in this space where HR is approached, and I'm sure you all are approached by many, many vendors, pay attention to the pitches that are coming to you, because oftentimes they come with great ideas. And the best way to learn very quickly is to immerse yourself in the market. And that's where that test and build process comes in. If you can figure out something small that you can pilot and prove and validate and show the value, you'll be able to repeat that in the future.
Wonderful. Thank you. Jill, back to you. I'm curious, how have employees reacted to this process? So I know you and Stephen have told us about the ways the team actually goes out into factories and to the parks and engages people directly. What's the response been from your workforce?
Yeah, and it's such a wonderful question that you ask, and it's one that's very interesting. I would say with this is change, and as we all know, some individuals struggle with change and the difference. But what's been great is they really appreciate that we come and listen to what they have to say. We're able to create camaraderie and partnership and actually really sit there and listen about what would they like. And we look at it in a number of different angles. It's not always about their, how are they driving to work? How are they coming to work? But what motivates them? And, I think what ties into this is the question that you just asked Stephen about creativity in this. And everyone is creative in their own mindset. It's just helping them know that their creativity is there and how to best utilize it. And this is a way that we can also go out and spend time with our employees and ask the questions to deliver, because then they also feel that they're part of what we're improving upon. And when they understand that we're there to make a difference, to make their lives easier and get over the why are they here, what is the change for, it becomes a wonderful dialogue, because then they're really proud at the end of a day of the products that we bring to them in a benefits landscape to say, you know what, I made an impact on that. Those individuals came to my location, cared enough to ask about me, to get to know me. And it could be anything from getting to know what sports team they like, to where they like to eat their fast food, to what they enjoy to do at work. But that all drives into the effectiveness and the execution that we can take back to our teams and then also bring back to them. And so it's been, at first, like any change, it's been a little bumpy, but as we've gotten through and we've really built that time with those employees, it's so wonderful to watch them smile with us, watch them be proud of what we've done, and to be really proud that they helped us make what we are.
Wonderful. So we are rapidly closing in on time. Huge thanks to Stephen and Jill for joining us today. We so appreciate it. In our next session, we'll be hearing from MasterCard on how HR leaders can design their financial health initiatives to drive more equitable financial health outcomes for employees. We'll have Taria Gray, the Chief People Officer here at the Financial Health Network, moderating that discussion, and they'll be starting in just a few moments. Thank you all so much.